Hello, sweet souls, and welcome to the We Are the Medicine podcast. I am your host, Dania Anastasia. I am a spiritual being having a human experience as a planter of seeds, alternative medicine practitioner, and trail guide on the path of life. We Are the Medicine is an exploration of the human experience through our stories. Our stories heal. Our stories are our medicine. Our experiences are our medicine. This is how we learn, grow, inspire, expand, and connect. My hope is that you will listen for inspiration and deeper understanding of how your individual life plays a role in that of the collective. I also hope to engage you, the listener, in conversations around your own dinner tables, in cafes and boardrooms, so that we may all begin to hold space for one another. Welcome to the show. In this episode of We Are the Medicine, I get to have a heart-to-heart conversation with a very dear friend of mine, Tammy McLendon, who's a Cranio-Sacral Therapist. This episode was so much fun to record because I really hadn't had much of a conversation with Tammy for, 10 years. She was my initial introduction to massage therapy life 20 some odd years ago. And she has always remained one of those people, one of those humans that we can literally go decades and not say a word. And then we pick up the phone and wham, everything lines up once again. Tammy is a grandmother, a wife, a gardener, an organizer, and a traveler, and the most amazing healer. She came from chaos and pain, but always knew that it was not for her, so she left it behind. Her hands are powerful tools of energy transmission, and her work as a craniosacral therapist and teacher allows them to express and shift all that they sense. She lives to bring people home to themselves and watch them grow into self-healing beings. She wholeheartedly believes in the power of transformation. Her larger goal is for all of us to be a part of the planetary shift that is conducive to our evolutionary species. And welcome, Tammy.
Well, thank you, Dania. It's good to be here. I miss you and I love our talks. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, and we have to have more of these because, well, we haven't had one in almost a decade.
It's good for the soul to catch up with an old friend.
Yes, it is. I totally agree with that. So we're going to start today with just a silly little icebreaker.
Okay.
Excuse me. If you could be any animal, what would you be and why?
Oh, well, I spend a lot of time trying to make friends with the crows in my neighborhood. And I think they're wonderful and fascinating and funny. And so I would be a crow. And with the why, gosh, I'd read books about crows. I am seriously into them. And they are highly intelligent. They can solve problems. And they have a lot of history with native peoples here, forging really deep partnerships. Call it a partnership with the native peoples. And I just think it's wonderful hearing all the stories and learning all about that. And, part of us in our society today, part of our kind of losing is we've lost the relationships that we have with our native, just our native animals right where we live, everywhere that we see every day. You can learn so much reading and studying about how the Native peoples managed those relationships and what they learned and the gifts that were given to both. So that's it.
I love that opening. Oh my gosh, what a perfect question to start us off today. Because it's true. We do cohabitate this planet, and really they were kind of here long before we were.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that. Specifically, I forget up there in Mukilteo, what are the native tribes that have basically pioneered that area?
Yeah, the Mukilteo people. The word Mukilteo means meeting place, and
Hmm.
behind me there are islands, and this was the area that all of the tribes from the islands would come and have their gatherings.
Wow, that's really special. That's
Yeah,
a
and they would
really
call. Yeah, it was fascinating, and they get together on the beach down in town, and they would call to the whales, and they would show up. Yeah,
Mm.
tingly, tingly.
Yes, I just got all tingly. Oh man, that just means I'm gonna have to come visit you. Darn it.
I've got my guest room all prepped for you.
Yay. All right. So, kind of piggybacking on that statement of partnering with our native fellow animals, flora and fauna.
Beings, yes.
Yes. What do you what do you think could be humanity's goal? Its ultimate goal?
Oh, ultimate goal, figuring out how to live in harmony.
Mm.
We do not have that yet. I think we had it. Um, Again, going back to the native peoples who lived here all over the world, did a better job. Uh, Food forest examples, they just integrated their food bearing and their medicine bearing plants just into the landscape. Harmony with the animals. They would study for instance, like they would study a herd of deer and figure out which one that they were going to cull out that was weak. How we hunt now, hunters will go out and they'll hunt the biggest animal and they'll take those genes out of the gene pool. And that's not good for the herd. That's one example. And the Native Americans um, were very good at figuring out how they can actually help make their brothers better and stronger. So they they took these animals, they gave gratitude um, for their brother's sacrifice to their tribe, and they took the animals. They called the weaker animals out, and which benefited the herd. Um, One example, managing with burning controlled burns, beneficial for the land, beneficial for the fauna. I think we have a long way to go to do better there. Yeah. And
Yeah.
just getting out and appreciating it and learning about it and spending time there um can give give appreciation. I think there's something in our souls when we watch how birds interact with each other and just watch them as they're preening themselves on a branch or something. That kindles a little something of that and helps us to remember um, how we had um, more beneficial relationships, more open and soulful relationships with the natural world.
It's beautiful. And it makes perfect sense, right? I
Mm-hmm.
know that for myself, not too long ago, a few years ago, I started saying a grace over the meals that I have. And I was reminded of the way that the some Native American tribes would do that, and just how your language was just now, you know, it sounds silly in this time and day, but it's true. Like, thank you, brother potato, right? Thank you, sister corn, and from the earth, from where it came from, because um, especially today, I think it's really important, because of the mass production of the food. Hopefully, most of my listeners are doing their due diligence and shopping at farmers markets and growing their own food if they can. But even still, it's important to give a blessing over the food before you consume it, right? Because the energetics of the food
Love that.
is part of the food itself and will become part of you.
Mhm.
Because there's been so many times, we go out to restaurants and you have no idea what's happening back there in the kitchen or where they even got their food. So the procurement of the food to get to that place, the person in the kitchen could just be having a really crappy day, and all of that energy goes into your food, and then without even thinking about it, you're ingesting all that. So it's I think I would be kicked out of a lot of restaurants if I brought my sage stick, right, and kind of saged my food before I ate it. But I say a little blessing
One
like
day, I hope they will just have it going. I
I
want
will
that
find a
cafe.
restaurant where that happens. But even
I
then,
want that cafe for us.
mhm.
Yeah.
um, and so
And
just to go ahead.
preparing our bodies energetically for taking the food in, saying grace, and giving our own energy system that setup and the energetic alignment of taking that into us.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
yeah.
that.
Um, so this could have been my first question, but I would like you to kind of talk a little bit about your story, your life, and kind of how you got to this space that you're in right now.
Yeah. Yes. So, I came from a really dysfunctional family. Um, and I don't know why. Looking around, I always knew I don't belong here. Um, so that's kind of a foundation. And then I have a family member, my aunt, dear, sweet, the sweetest person. She had MS and she would have really bad attacks. So MS manifests itself differently in different people. And for hers, it wasn't like a slow slide. She would have they looked a lot like panic attacks. And they would be very scary in the moment, to her and to those around her. And she was having one of these one day. I was a teenager. My grandmother was in the room, and my grandmother got up. My aunt bounced out of her chair, like panicking, not knowing what to do. My grandmother got out of her chair and just started talking softly to her and running, physically touching her head and down her shoulders and down her arms, and just real soothing the energy, and with her words and with her touch, and giving her an anchored focus that my aunt can hold on to in the moment. And I just thought that being in that situation and going from, oh my goodness, what's happening, my dear sweet aunt, to having this magic that my grandmother applied.
Mm.
um I just thought that was the best thing I've ever seen in the world. There's nothing higher than that. I didn't care, my little 12-year-old said, and that stuck with me. I held on to that, like, in the moment, um, just really penetrated into my being. And from that moment on, I wanted to be those hands.
Mm.
Yeah. And, so you can find that. And so I was a young mom and I went to massage school. My daughter was 10 months old. I was happy with my training. I loved it. I didn't get the energetic stuff at first. It took me a while to open up to the energy. The energy had to, like, hit me upside the head. I'm not a natural energy healer, although now I consider myself an energy healer. I'm 55 now. I had to really grow into that part of my practice. So started with massage, treatment, all the treatment stuff. And that's a deep, wide field. Doula, I was a doula.
That's right.
Yeah, that was very soulful. It wreaks havoc on a schedule, but very deep, soulful work where you can use, your voice in your hands, that calming energy presence. And then I had a motor vehicle accident that was in many ways the best thing that ever happened to me, as those things can be. It took me right out of my life. It set me down. I had to like start from zero and heal myself. I couldn't work normally it was about 6 months. And craniosacral therapy, yamana, but mostly craniosacral therapy was the modality that I really felt like got me back into my body. And so from there, I'm just like, what is this magic? And took that training. That was in 2007. So I've been doing that for a little while now. And decided in the pandemic that I wanted to teach. So I worked really hard to make my own program. And so now I'm just a craniosacral therapist and teacher.
Wow. And I wouldn't say just, you are the craniosacral teacher and therapist. Oh, that's so wonderful. Yes. And how did that go for you developing this course and stuff? We had talked, you were kind of tossing the idea around of starting your own school. Is that still on track?
Yeah. Right now I'm saying that I'm still working on my program. I don't have a physical location for my school. What I'm doing is for the first couple go around. So I made my program and I'm teaching it to small classes of people that are just in my life. So I had about 11 students take my program so that I can really focus on, how can I word this so that they can get it? And I don't want to be talking to 20 people because I want to be able to like look in their eyes and I want to be able to feel that they're grasping it. And I want to be able to ask, like, not probing questions, but I want to be able to really make sure that they're getting the essence, because sometimes your first cranial holds can feel like, people have a hard time believing that they actually can feel. Our central nervous systems are optimized to be able to feel and do this work. It's part of being a human being. We have this set of neural pathways or set of energetic pathways for us to be able to connect in and receive this information. Magic. Wonderful. And it's hard for a lot of newbies. And I teach lay people. I'm really excited about that because there's a lot of latent healers, I believe, out there that for whatever reason they're a healer, but they didn't realize it and they became an accountant or something. And there's a lot of these wonderful healers out there. And you can see them when you talk to them. And so I'm dragging them into my class, and to watch them bloom into this work is so amazing. And I have really passionate, wonderful, latent healers, lay people that are learning the work to perform it on their friends and family. Yeah. And it's been so wonderful. And now I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, you did. That's perfect. I think that's a brilliant way to get on the ground, and, kind of feel your way around people who have not been exposed to it before, inviting those closest to you or those that you feel would be able to integrate that into their life and that of their loved ones. I think that's a beautiful way to start. Oh, I can't wait to take your class.
Yeah, and you're a wonderful example of a latent healer.
Yeah, it's for the, and even not even still, I think I was just talking with someone yesterday, and it was like they were, calling me, I don't know. It used to feel very strange and kind of a little too obnoxious to consider or even say out loud that I am in the healing arts, that I am a healer. But I think over the course of definitely the last year of my life, and in changing my name, purposely choosing my last name now, Anastasia, she's the patron saint of healers.
Yeah.
And I chose her when I was 16.
Wow. Yeah.
For my Catholic confirmation. I love the name. Something about words and names, when they really resonate with me, I have to learn everything I can about them. I feel the same way about the word Ayurveda. I feel the same about the word resonance and coherence and like these amazing words. And it used to sound really silly when I would go over this kind of stuff in my head, but it doesn't feel silly anymore. It actually feels right on. And I don't know, I think, in my opinion, we all come to this planet, come into these bodies for a purpose of healing of some sort. Whether that's healing ourselves or healing our friends or our neighbors or just the collective, right? So, and it's amazing how long it might take somebody to come into that for themselves. And all they would need is one exposure. Massage therapy school for me was my exposure. I was like, wow, I never would have chosen this, like in a list of, careers and what I could go do. But in going to that first seminar, I was like, this is it. It was definitely the start of my path for sure.
Healing is a hero's journey, and you get to be the hero of your own story, figuring out how to reconnect with your body and figuring out how to make the changes in your life to allow healing to happen. And I think a lot of times it is allowing. We can be so engrossed in where we're going, and then we have a blessing of an accident or an illness that will have to pull us right out of all the everything that we were all the balls that we were juggling and all the plates that we were spinning. Those all have to crash down, and we have to figure out how we're going to start from zero and what we need to for ourselves, what we need to pull into our lives, what we've been shutting off that we need to open the door to again. All the silver linings, all the blessings that come from that. Your own hero's journey. Yeah. And being able to Sherpa someone through their own practice a little bit sometimes, and being able to witness people. It's the greatest. I have the best job in the world. I look forward to Monday mornings. I get to sit in a meditative state, and my clients get to take space for themselves out of their day and come and be held, and just only funny word, the singular moment of dropping into your body as it's doing what it's doing is wonderfully transforming, very transforming. And being able to witness that those heroes, my heroes, come in to do that for themselves and their families, and their communities is wonderful.
Feel like I'm in a session with you already. Well, yeah, and it's just a whole lot of remembering, right? It's remembering the power that we have, the innate ability of ourselves to drop into our own bodies and view it from like a bird's eye view, the crow's eye view, right?
Yeah.
Of what's happening in this human form. And I remember one of the first times I ever brought that modality into the treatment room. I had, of course, taken a class, so I was practicing on people, but when it really hit me, I just met this woman, and she was actually visiting from out of town, so I didn't really know a whole lot about her. And when I start most of my sessions anyway with the hold, and I sat there with her, and within 2 or 3 minutes, you could feel the release, and she just had a huge emotional response to it. She cried for almost an hour, and that's all she wanted me to do. I went to adjust myself. She's like, "Oh, please don't stop." And we just sat there for almost an hour while she said, she's like, "I know you didn't do anything." She's like, "But that was probably the best experience I've ever had." And that was really, really powerful.
I love that story. I love that.
Yeah. And to give people the opportunity to do that for themselves. Oh.
We always have to be on. There's so much, how our social media has, what it's become. There's a lot of ego and the masks that we have to wear takes a lot of our energy. It's not a natural space for us to be in with each other, I don't think. So just dropping that, it's being, it's not what you're looking like, it's not what you're saying, it's not what you're doing. That's rare. It's rare to have that kind of energy with another person in your life. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
just
wonderful.
love it. I love that. So we kind of talked about your school. That's kind of your current passion project, I would think.
Yes,
Let's
indeed.
see. How do you, Miss Tammy, cultivate joy, ease, and love daily?
Yes. Work is wonderful. Family is wonderful. I have my grandson here with me this week, and he's amazing. If you ever want to open your heart and discover new levels of love, hang out with a kid for a little bit. My goodness. And then I have my little garden, and I grow vegetables, and I grow flowers, and I grow herbs. I make my own tea, and and I always, not always in the winter, but sometimes in the winter, I like to go out to my garden barefoot so that I'm muddy and just literally right in the dirt with it. I think that's really, really neato to feel, you know, just kind of be in the earth with it. Those activities. I have an elderberry bush right now that's in beautiful white bloom, and I make elderberry syrup that, I have a couple of friends with little kids, so whip up some elderberry syrup batches, and it just feels so natural to, be the grandma that makes elderberry syrup for my little group of friends. And,
I could see you stroking their head and their
yeah,
back when they're all upset, just like
I
your
love
grandma
that.
did.
I love that.
Oh,
And I have a little nest in my house in the corner of the couch and all, with blankies and big windows. And, I read voraciously. So I'm reading my books with my Pacific Northwest life. So I'm reading my books with my coffee in my little sunny corner, on the rainy days, so many that we get here. And that's just so soul satisfying. My life, it's good. Life is good, and it doesn't have to, and, I don't have to live in a mansion, and my surroundings are beautiful, but I've lived in little tiny houses. um, you know, you just make your little garden, even if it's a couch and a blankie and a cup of tea.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or just a potted plant in your windowsill, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Let's see here. If you could offer a one-liner of healing
Mm,
advice, of
mm,
self-discovery for someone who may be struggling right now, what would it
yeah.
be?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the kind of, what situation they're in. Um, I'm gonna try. I'm going to talk to all of my um, early childhood trauma people right now. Um, it is available. It it is valid for you to go back into a moment in your past, whenever it presents itself to your consciousness. It is available for you to go back there in that moment and give yourself a hug and give yourself some energy and know that that's how you got through. Your higher self was always there to protect you. Your angels, your spirit guides, your God, your source energy has always been there holding you, surrounding you in love, continues to this day. And you can tap into that for yourself and know that your team is is working for you all the time. Yeah.
I love, love that answer. I think selfishly, I love it more because, like I mentioned earlier, we haven't really spoken that much over the last decade since I left the area, since I came back here. But like all of my other soul sisters, we're picking up exactly not where we left off, but where we both currently are. And to hear your language sounds like my language. It's like we're talking on the same wavelength, the same words, the same energy, everything. And not that I'm surprised about it, but it just makes my heart so happy.
There is a soul sisterhood, and we are tribes women for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there
Yeah.
are millions of us.
And ironically, and I'm going to be very open and vulnerable, like I always am. I don't think that I probably would have reached out to you this year if I hadn't have gotten divorced.
Oh, yeah. See, the traumas in our lives.
Since that happened, like you were one of the few women that in my
Mm.
past and my growing up years, that I really realized how much I needed you in my life. So I'm just so honored to have you here, and I
I
can see
feel
your
the same.
beautiful face.
You know, that has been a topic that I have been thinking quite a lot about lately. Um, I hope everyone that's listening has an older woman, some older women, or same age women. But for me particularly, I had these lovely people come to me and help mother me through my 20s, help mother me through my 30s. Like I said, my family was really kind of dysfunctional, and you know, it's there. That energy is out there in the world, and I see now that there are, 20 somethings and 30 somethings that are showing up for my classes, and not only for my classes, but just to be around and to have conversations around, when problems are happening, and just having connection. And, the world right now, our country right now, there's so much, the collective consciousness is, we're really straining um, to find peace and to stay in love right now. We're really challenged. And so knowing our soul sisters, knowing our fairy godmothers, I like to call them, is really important. Think about all of your old friends that you would like to connect with, and do it. They probably need you right now too. Yeah. If I was to give a piece of advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also find it's usually very reciprocal, like you said.
Absolutely.
When I think about somebody that maybe I have or haven't thought about in a long time, but their name and their face keeps coming up in my vision, I'm like, I'm just gonna reach out. And
Mm,
every time I do, it's something like this. It's completely um divine timing.
mhm. True.
Yeah. Um, and that
Food you
just gives
crave,
me
the people
chills.
you crave
Yeah.
come to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And because
Yeah.
I know for myself, I spent quite a few years in my marriage feeling very alone, feeling very cut off.
Yeah.
And nothing technologically wise has changed. I could have picked up the phone. I could have sent an email. I could have, could have, would have, should have. Um, and I guess for myself, I don't like to ask for help, because
Right.
the conditioning that I've been through in my life has, brainwashed me to believe that they don't care anyway, and what's the point? So just figure it
But you're
out
crying.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's not that I can't figure it out myself. It's just sometimes I love the connection, and that was my main word. I think I've said it in every podcast so far. That is my intention for this year. And moving forward throughout my life is connection. I don't have strong family connections. I feel most connected to, the birds and the bees and the flowers, and women who who show up for themselves so that I can show up for myself.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. When times get tough, and for a lot of people, times are tough, it is all about community, keeping ourselves strong, coming together to give each other what we need. Keeping our hearts open through all of this is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you can look around and see how many different ways the world is burning right now. And not to be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not to inject too much of that energy, but when you need it, that is the wonderful thing. When you need it, you'll start to think about it and crave it, and you just listen to what's listen to what's dropping in for you, dropping in for you and to you all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have noticed actually that there is quite a movement in the younger generation that are really coming into this kind of information, this type of work in the world, seeing things in a more of a 4 or 5D reality as opposed to just 3D, and really feeling that their place in this world, something that I just found, you know, maybe 5-6 years ago, if that, that they're finding it at such a younger age. And maybe you can say something about this, but I've learned, I've read, I've investigated that there does have to be some semblance of balance and some sense of order in the universe. And something I came across a while back was the light workers, the healers are all starting to come forward in full force, which is also not causing or creating, but it's allowing the darker side of humanity to also come forward more, with more visibility, with not more hatred or more vengeance, but the energies are starting to really clash. And I think that, as you mentioned the word burning, it's a transformative process that we're all going through. So I don't know. I've been tempted to not use the terms good, bad, evil, good, right, wrong kind of thing, because in my opinion, life is neutral. Everything that happens is neutral. It's our conditioned response that puts a label on things. But yes, there are undesirable things that happen in the world, in our lives. And so to counterbalance that, can you talk a little bit about that balance of power?
Sure. Yeah, I have thoughts about that. So I have a lot of space and gratitude in my heart for the younger generations that are coming to us now. They're being born knowing many of the things that we of the older myself.
I'm not that far behind you, honey. It's okay. We're both.
Sorry, me being I'm 55. I'm fine. Putting, clarifying where I'm at in the scheme of things with the generations. I had to work really hard to learn the lessons that I've learned. And it feels like the younger generation, they just come in and they are already blooming with it. They are leading us, they are teaching us. And for us just to hold space for them and protect them and help them and give them safe spaces to be who they are, I think is very important. And I do believe that veils have been lifted between the energies. There's more blatant, unabashed behavior, words and deeds now, than there has been in our culture, in our country, at least. I'm pretty aware that I know in other areas of the world things are, you know, things are different in other places, but we're here in our country and we're seeing the polarization and blatant. It's it's more obvious. You don't have to look for it. It's in your face. And I think social media has done a lot of that, and the news, and it's wonderful that we've been able to have conversations, and people have been able to learn a lot and be exposed to other opinions and be able to figure out where they want to stand and who they want to be in relation to all the issues that you can get down in the mud and wrestle around with. And that spurned a lot of growth, and I think it's wonderful. And it just remains to be seen. I think we're building towards, it feels like we're a bow drawn back. We're heading, there's so much energy head to head pushing, building. It's maybe a kind of a test to see how people ultimately decide how they want to be here. Maybe that's what all the energy is for, because I think that there are a lot of us who haven't really decided they want to stay in their lives and do what they do, and not really take it seriously what we do here. This arena that we've come to, that's a little bit make believe, because our soul selves are very clear, and we would never engage in any of these shenanigans, I think. Well, I know, but we come here to learn lessons, and I think we're helping even the souls who are maybe behaving negatively. We're here to like maybe help them, force them to make a decision ultimately, and to maybe see a little bit more clearly. That's my hope.
It is my hope too.
Yeah, and I think with the younger generation, again, circling back to it, I have a lot of faith in the future within them. I have a lot of faith in them, because again, I believe that they do come here already being advanced. I think the younger generations are little tiny beautiful advanced souls coming in to help us figure things out a little bit.
Yeah. It's a beautiful life, right?
It can be, if you see it that way. Yeah. It's a banquet table, and you've got it, and it stretches to infinity, and it's got all the dishes on it, and they're labeled, and you've got a plate, and you've got a big spoon, and you get to choose what you put on that plate, how you want to load it up.
Yes, you do. And if you're lucky, you have a second breakfast spoon. I have to throw that out there because I was at an art walk this last weekend with a friend of mine, and this beautiful woman, she makes like these little wooden spoons. They're about 2 or 3 inches long, and they have these little beautifully intricate designs at the top of it, and she calls them the second breakfast spoon.
Oh, that is so lovely.
So of course I had to buy one.
I love all the artists out there, man. I just have appreciation for all the artists painting flowers on everything. You go.
That's right.
You go, you go, and you go. Do all of that. We need you. Love you.
Okay, let me see here. What have we got? So do you use throughout your day, whether you're with people or not, or in your meditation, do you have a daily mantra that you frequently come back to, or some centering prayer or phrase that you use?
Oh, when things are challenging, my mantra is, who do I want to be in this moment?
Oh, good one.
Who do I want to be in this moment? Do I want to be the person who just completely loses their shit? Usually the answer is no. And sometimes I want to be the one that makes the light, make some wry humor. So I use that. I find myself using that one quite a lot. And another one that I've been using for myself lately is just breathe. I like just breathe. Um, when I find myself having moments of wonder, just breathe. That I think that pulls it deeper into my system.
Mm.
When it's good and when it's, challenging, just breathe. I think our breath is, oxygen is all literally we're soaking in it. That dates me. That was a commercial, if you remember that.
Palm olive. Yes.
Right? Um, you're soaking in it.
You're
So
soaking in it.
just allow, again, so much of opening up ourselves to receive, and breathing is opening up ourselves to receive. And if you've had a challenging childhood, and even if you haven't, we tend to densify ourselves, and that is reflected in our breathing. And it's just, yeah, you can, and it's just like, ding, you just breathe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
Let me see here. What we're gonna finish up with. So is there anything specific or a place where someone could go to connect with you? If I don't know if you're doing your classes, are they in person right now for your
My
school?
classes will always have to be in person.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, light touch therapy. But I love talking about my work.
Uh-huh.
You can get a hold of me by phone. You can text. Should I give my number? I would love
Yeah,
to hear from people.
you can, or I can just write it in the bio at the end of it when it's all written
Okay,
up.
put it in
You're
my
more than
bio.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I would love to have some random person from anywhere contact me because they just want to know more about craniosacral therapy,
Yeah.
even if they're not in my area, even if they have no, plans or no what way or means to travel and take my classes. It doesn't have to be about that. I love talking about my work.
I
Yeah.
love that too. And as
Hmm.
I'm just fascinated by your backdrop and the the um the space that you have cultivated there. It could be a really beautiful vacation for somebody, a really great business trip to come out and learn from you and spend some time in that God beautiful Pacific Northwest up there.
It's gorgeous here. We're all green. We're all green. We're
We all
all
have a little
clean.
mold.
We got a little bit. That's green too, baby.
Yep, yep, yep. The lichen. Um, okay, and then to end today,
Yes.
I would like to ask you another sort of silly, kind of serious, but
Great.
if you were to write one, what would be the title of your memoir?
Oh. Probably WTF.
Spoken like a true healer.
What was that? That would be the
Uh-huh. Wait, what?
You want me to what?
Oh, such a joy to talk with you, Tammy. I will have you back for sure.
Oh,
Maybe we
good.
can do another episode just about specifics on the craniosacral, and we can really
Yeah,
get into the
that.
nitty gritty on that.
Yeah. Like a little mini like lecture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Why not? Because
Yeah,
this, technology's here. Let's use it,
basically.
baby.
Yeah. More all.
More. All. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I will bid you a beautiful, rainy Pacific Northwest day because that's what we're having here too.
I just love you to pieces, Dania. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tammy.
Okay. Bye, hon.
Bye.
And that wraps up another episode of We Are the Medicine podcast. Wanted to take a moment to thank you and to let you know that I am grateful and I appreciate you so much. I see you. I hear you. I do understand. If you feel called, subscribe to my channel, like, share, comment with it, and check out my website for future happenings, daniaanastasia.com. That's all for now. I love you so much. It's crazy.